Have you tried to stretch and strengthen your hips to no avail? You're still dealing with pain, stiffness, tightness in the front of your hip and wondering what the actual cause of all this problem might be? Well, there's a third missing link to this solution that most people don't consider, and that is how you move pressure. Ultimately, the goal of the body and the goal of the human movement musculoskeletal system is to move pressure. In order to move the body, we have to apply pressure in a specific direction to move us in the opposite direction. It's just simple physics. So when we're talking about human movement, the body moves pressure. It's no different than any other system in the body. The cardiovascular and pulmonary system moves oxygen and blood. The digestive system moves food and nutrients through the body. Well, the musculoskeletal system moves pressure and force. That is how you move your body through space, is by applying force and pressure in one direction to send you in another direction. So quite possibly the reason why you're dealing with stiffness and tightness is because you move pressure in space poorly. Now, this doesn't mean that stretching for some people could be useful. Certainly in some people who have stiff muscles and they can't elongate that muscle, maybe stretching is an appropriate mechanism of treatment for that person, or it's one component of their multitude of issues going on, and that's why they're dealing with pain. Quite possibly the individual could have a strength issue. Maybe they're weak, they have lower capacity in the tendons and the muscles surrounding that joint, and that's why they have hip pain and stiffness, is because the body is protectively tightening around an area to create some more security there, because there's not enough strength or capacity to be able to tolerate the pressure and forces that the hip is going to go through. This goes for any joint of the body for that matter as well, not just the hip. But third, and again often left out, is how you move that pressure. There is a right and a wrong way to move the body, contrary to all the fitness gurus out there who say that there's no such thing as a bad movement, just an unprepared body. Well, if that was the case, then all of the athletes that you see in this world who are some of the most physically fit and prepared individuals would never experience pain. I understand the reasoning behind why people would say that. They want to promote and encourage movement and exercise. They don't want to promote sedentary and fear avoidance of movement. But it's starting to get into a dangerous territory when you start saying there's no such thing as a bad movement. There's still right and wrongs, and it's all on a spectrum. There's just varying degrees of what is right and what is wrong, but there still is an ideal. There's differences between normal movement and ideal movement. We can't just take normals at face value. Surgeries for hip replacements, knee replacements are going through the roof. They're becoming more and more normal. So if we think that that is normal, then again, we would say that no movement is bad movement just because it's normal for people to end up with hip replacements in their life. But if we take a different approach and we say that there is an ideal way to move, an ideal way to move pressure through the body, now we all of a sudden have this liberating feeling where, okay, now we have something that we can control, and it's not just up to random luck of who gets a hip replacement and who doesn't. So if you've tried stretching and you've tried strengthening and you're still dealing with pain, then I need you to consider that how you move and how you distribute pressure through your body, through your hip, is likely influencing part of your painful issue that currently is at hand. So what I want to do is show you a couple movements that would alter how you place pressure in the hip and see what you notice when you do those exercises. Again, it's not going to be an immediate cure. If you're in this situation, likely it's happened over the course of years and years and years, so it's not going to be something that's solved immediately. Don't expect immediate results when you've been dealing with problems for a long period of time. Now, having said that, if you get these exercises right, you're going to feel a different loading and pressure through your hip than what you've probably experienced in quite some time, if ever. So, the exercise to try, you're going to have to be kneeling on the ground in a crawling position. You're going to be on all fours. If your knees are not comfortable with kneeling, then get a pad out, get a couple yoga mats, get some type of soft surface that you feel comfortable kneeling on, because it's going to be super helpful for your hip. So I'm going to cut to the video right here so that you can see the actual exercise and how I coach it. This is one of the many exercises that is part of our hip workout plan that we give for people who are dealing with hip tightness and stiffness. Diagnoses such as hip impingement, hip bursitis, hip flexor tightness, hip flexor stiffness. anterior or front side hip pain. This is all common things, common exercises that we give. This is one exercise of the many that is involved in the workout that you can find in the comments section and the description below this video. So this is the shark tail exercise. This is going to start as an isometric exercise where you just hold the position, getting used to putting pressure in your hip, and then you need to earn the right to make this more of a dynamic moving exercise where you move back and forth. We'll show that in just a moment. But the isometric, what you're going to do is you're going to start kneeling on the ground, swing one shin inward slightly, and you're going to pin that shin to the ground. While holding that shin to the ground, you're going to straighten the back leg out, and you're going to make that back leg slightly pigeon-toed. From there, you're going to rotate your belly button and your chest so that the logo, your head, your eyes, and your belly button are over top of that front knee, keeping the shin pinned to the ground. When you get this right, you should feel your butt cheek right where I have my hand placed into the hip. You should not feel a pinch or pain in front of the shoulder. You should feel this in the back of the butt cheek. Notice also how the butt is slightly behind the knee. You want to maintain this position throughout the exercise. From there, you're just going to hold this position for 10 seconds at a minimum, upwards to a minute in length. Now, I prefer a minute in length before you start progressing this exercise. So you need to be able to hold this exercise for a minute with your shin on the ground, your hand on the ground, and the back foot on the ground. If that is easy for you, then you can progress to lifting the back leg up off the ground. Then you might have to start off at 10 seconds again, but work your way all the way up to a minute with that back leg up off the ground. Then once you have that mastered, then you take your front hand and you go fingertips, and you're just lightly using that hand as a kickstand. Should again be able to hold that for a minute total before we start going to the dynamic version of this exercise. The dynamic version of this exercise, you're going to just subtly rotate back and forth. This is where the shark tail exercise gets its name, is your heel will move one way, your head will move in the opposite direction, and you're just going to subtly move back and forth. The mistake people make here is they go with huge, large twists and turns. Your head should not move beyond the base of your support. Your hands are shoulder width apart. Your head and heel should not move beyond these boundaries. And you're just moving back and forth. Again, might start for just 10 seconds, but work your way up all the way to a minute on each side. Okay, so hopefully that video provides you some description. What I want you to do is I want you to try it out and type in the comment section below how it went. Did you feel pressure in the backside of your hip? The goal of the exercise is to feel pressure back there and to feel the glute and muscles actually lengthening through pressure in a comfortable manner that does not create any pinching or pain and stiffness in the front of your hip. When you accept load and get that glute to actually load behind you, that creates the propulsion system to then send you forward. It creates that elastic energy to propel you forward, loading the glute in that eccentric manner. Loading pressure through the glute in that manner is the way that we start developing the body's ability to load, deal with pressure in a more ideal fashion. Now, it takes more than this exercise to translate into walking, running, jogging, doing things that most people love and enjoy doing. So again, that's why we have the program in the description section below that you can check out. But hopefully this exercise gets you to see and feel the difference of how pressure can influence someone's pain and stiffness and tightness, and how changing how you pressurize the hip can ultimately lead to a looser, freer, more confident hip that ultimately starts building momentum to help you get back into things that bring you joy and fulfillment in life, such as playing with your kids, playing sports, going for a run, going for a jog, or just going for a walk with your significant other without having to deal with hip pain for the rest of the day. So if you are dealing with hip pain, stiffness, or tightness, you can get started with that DIY program that we have listed in the description and the comment section below. Or if you would like more of a personalized one-on-one approach where we can communicate through an online Zoom session one-on-one together in a program specifically designed for you, you can always reach out to me, Greg, at sportsrehabexpert.com, and we can talk about those options as well.